It's a couple of days later since I last spoke to you, and I have been working tirelessly on the doughnut bed. I won't take up much of your time, but I thought I'd just quickly show you what I achieved since I've been away. There we go. It's all dug over now. So the beginnings of phase 2 of Operation Plant More Flowers. I just turned the turfs over. I was working on the old maxim that my great grandfather told me and Will, which was dig weeds out, dig grass in. So I just basically flipped the turf over. I know that means that there's a chance that grass will keep popping up, but I know from my experience of doing that with this bed, that dissipates over time and the grass eventually takes the hint. I've also sprinkled it with some manure, and we're in for quite a lot of rain over the weekend apparently, so I'm hoping that all of that together, the heavy rain and the manure, and I tried to break it up a bit, means that come next week when I'm intending to start planting this up, the soil will be a bit more broken up. It's still a bit clumpy, so a bit tricky to plant in, but I mean that took me several hours. I just wanted to get it done. I'm very pleased with that. Oh, and quickly, one last thing. Earlier today I was planting out the first of my seedlings that I grew. I had quite a few that I regarded as spares, so I've dotted them about. Whenever I plant things, I do try and take into account the size of the plants around them. So for example, this is that one with the big yellow flowers, and I know that's going to get huge, so although it looks like there's lots of space around it, it won't be too long before it's occupying that space. Same with this buddleia. If I planted too much around it, eventually it would just get completely submerged by that sod. But anyway, yes, I've dotted them about, but there's plenty more for the doughnut bed. These are just spares. The last thing I need to do is make stick cages for them, but I'm off to do something else now. I don't know how well you can see, it daren't move. I'm watching this king parrot feed a fledgling for a while now. It's got this interesting ritual. It seems to pick something up, scratch its face, wobble its head about, making a strange noise, and then feeds the chick. Don't move. I don't quite know the rationale behind that. I've been working on the planting scheme for the doughnut bed, and I thought I'd show it to you because I'm hoping that I can start doing some planting today. So the doughnut bed I marked on here, it's all to scale, and then what I've done is I've looked up the dimensions of the plants I either have, I'm getting, or I'm on the waiting list for. I've looked at whether they're evergreen or deciduous, and I've looked at the colour of the flowers, and then I've made little squares which relate to the size they're going to get, and then I've coloured them the colour that the flowers are. These ones are white, and then the ones that are evergreen I've put little green bits on. So what I've wanted to do is spread things out so there's a nice spread of all the colours, and to put some points in the bed where there's evergreen plants that are going to grow quite big to offer a degree of shading and screening from the path up the state forest. And so now this is my guide for where I'm going to put my plants. Most of them are shrubs or perennials, but some of them, like this geranium, is a biennial, so these will sort of spread themselves around and they'll be in different places every year. But I'm very pleased with that. So this is how, if they all survive and grow to their full potential, it could eventually look. And so what I'm going to do now is go and have a look at it and maybe start doing some planting. One last doughnut bed update. For the time being, I have, as you can hopefully see, planted out all the plants that I currently have. So this is a combination of plants I've grown from seed, plants I've grown from cuttings, and plants I've bought. I've got more plants that I've bought to come from an online nursery, and there's more plants I'm on the waiting list for that I haven't bought because they're not ready yet. But I planted them all. I've made stick cages, and I also took the precaution whilst they're this young of closing up all the gates and blocking off all the access points, just so that wallabies and kangaroos can't get into the garden. I'll only do that for a couple of days, just want these plants to sort of take a breath, find their feet, and hopefully start to establish. So far so good though, they're all here. And actually whilst I'm here, I noticed this yesterday. Some evidence, I don't know if you can see, that the lemon tree, this is leaves, is maybe, at least in part, starting to spring back into life, but I may be speaking a bit prematurely there. I guess one set of leaves does not resurrection make, so it may still be curtains for this lemon, but it's not a rarity. I'll just buy another one and start again. Anyway, yes, so I'm very pleased with this. I'll just have a quick turn about and make sure all the plants are still looking fine. Yeah, they're all looking quite good actually. I'm off now to go and do some chainsawing for some firewood, and then when I get back I'll quickly update you on my new sharpening setup. I'm really pleased with it, but I'll save that for later. I'll catch up with you in a bit. I've just been strimming up the woodland walk, and I happened to notice this caterpillar. That might be as good as it's going to get. Yeah, I can't tell you what it's going to turn into. Isn't it beautiful? I've just had to nip back down to my potting shed because I ran out of Strimmer Cord. I don't think I've spoken too much about this before, I'm not going to dwell on it, but basically I used to buy the pre-made cartridges for my Ryobi strimmer, battery powered strimmer. But they're really expensive, and so just one day on a whim I thought, well, they sell Strimmer Cord in Bunnings, so maybe I'll just have a stab at stringing my own. You probably all do this. I'm probably the last one to the party, but it's so much cheaper. I just make sure to get the correct diameter for the strimmer, which is the 1.6mm. I started off relatively modestly. I think they come with 5 meters on. So I thought, well, it's cheaper, but it's not free. So I started with the 15-meter roll. Discovered that it's actually really good and simple thing to do. So now my next one is 50 meters worth. The only thing I would say, this is my only tip, if you have tried and have failed, or if you've never tried, my only tip is when you're rolling the strimmer line on, don't do it neatly. If you do it really neatly, you like wrap and it's all concentric and neat and goes up and goes down and goes up, what will happen is, or what I find happens is that the whole lot just gets sucked in continuously. So I wrap it on really haphazardly, and I find that that stops the problem of the bit of line that comes out of the hole from getting sucked back in all the time. Anyway, I'm going to crack on. I've got bracken to manage. I've refilled my cartridge and now I'm down at the Rambling Rector to see if you can see where I am geographically. I don't know how well this is going to go, but I happened to look up and I saw these. I've got absolutely no idea if you can see any of that because they're very high up and I had to reach and reach. It is extremely windy. They're just sort of dangling there. So the old camera was struggling. I've no idea what those were. I don't know if they're a variation on those sawflies we saw the other day. Anyway, this is all sorts of stuff. Wherever you look. One last thing, as promised, and luckily this is on the table out of the wind, so it's not going to go all blurry in the wind. Anyway, this is our new chainsaw sharpening rig. So essentially it is a big piece of wood that will gouge a hole into to put this vise in, and then put this plate over to hold that in place. And essentially this then clamps onto the chainsaw blade, which means that I can now sharpen the chainsaw with the file without having to sit on the chainsaw. With the timber line, it was easy just to do the chainsaw one-handed, but with the file, because of the different type of force and pressure, you really need the chainsaw to be held in place. This workbench is absolutely perfect for my needs as a general potting shed, but it is quite flimsy and it's got this metal rim, which means that attaching a vise isn't altogether easy. And also, I'm not sure I actually want a vise permanently attached to my potting shed bench. So we now got this portable solution, but it has enough heft and weight to mean that when I'm sharpening, the whole thing just doesn't move anywhere. Isn't that right, Peter? Yeah. You can tell that she's extremely impressed. Yeah. Good girl. Lastly on this theme, this is the file guide. Actually, it turned out we already had one. Neither of us realised that. Anyway, so the other one I bought wasn't very expensive. I'm going to use that for the file for the Husqvarna chainsaw because that's a 30 degree. And the Ryobi is a 25 degree. So it just means that and the files are different sizes. So it means that I can just have a Ryobi file and a Husqvarna file and keep them separate. You just really want to get in on it today, don't you? She doesn't. She wants to go back in the house. She decided to come out but didn't realise that it was cold and miserable. So now she's just itching to go back inside. I've used the file guide a couple of times and it's really good. I'm glad I got it. It is helpful. There may come a time where I just know what I'm doing, but knowing the angle and it keeping the file at the correct height is just so handy. And the chainsaw's never been so sharp, except for when the chain's brand new, but I just couldn't be happier. It's a much simpler method of sharpening a chainsaw, and this new setup makes it even easier. Well, I think I'll go and let Vita in, and I'll probably call it a day for the vlog this week. Next week, well, on Saturday of this week, Will and I are heading to Tasmania. We're off to Hobart for a long weekend for two reasons. Firstly, we're both taking part in a half marathon called the Point to Pinnacle. Will's running the half marathon, I'm walking a 10k, but also it's to help Will's mum celebrate her birthday, so we're going as a Will's immediate family on a holiday, and Will's mum, Will's dad and me will be walking the 10k, which is 6 miles, on the same course. So the vlog after this one will probably be a Tasmania, well mostly Hobart special, if I don't feel too self-conscious filming in the city, which I usually do. It's one thing talking to myself here, but it's another doing it in public. I hope you enjoy your weekends, and I will see you in Tasmania. Bye.